Right.
If I'm out at the meeting and I go home, if there's football on, it's on.
Right. I think, are we live now? Right. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the North Planning Committee. We were just having one or two issues making sure that the YouTube feed is actually working, and it is. Okay, I'm Councillor Eddie Davies, Mr Chairman. If I can do the administration first, please. Apologies for absence.
Apologies received from Councillor Duduko with Councillor Brian Stead substituted.
Can I have any declarations of interest coming for tonight's meeting? No. The minutes of the meeting 23rd of August were circulated. Can I have those agreed? Agreed. Thank you. The agenda we're considering tonight was the one published by the Head of Planning. Item 6 was withdrawn by the applicants. That's 31 Frithfield Avenue is not before us tonight. I have taken a late enforcement item, which is in Part 2 and in private, which has been deemed as urgent. So effectively we will do 7, 8, 9, 10 in public, and then 11 is the private item. I only have one petition item left tonight, which is item 7, Midhurst Cottage, High Road. The procedure for petition items is the members have obviously had the reports that are before us. The officer will present a summary of the main issues. Petitioners then have 5 minutes to address us. And if you watch the traffic lights, you get 4 green, 1 amber, and at red, you're done. The applicant or their agent then has the right to address us, as do any ward councillors. I do not see any ward councillors, 2 of whom are on committee anyway, but I don't see the third one. Members may ask questions, they may not, but we'll see how that goes. And then the members will then discuss the item and then vote on it. I only get a vote if everybody else can't agree what they want to do. In other words, we get a tie. It's possible we could. We occasionally go in that direction. The voting councillors tonight, starting at the sort of on my far right, Councillor Brian Stead, Councillor Duncan Flynn, Councillor Ray Graham, Councillor Henry Higgins, and Councillor John Morgan, and then working my way down on the left-hand side, Councillor John Oswald, Councillor Jazz Dillon, Councillor Manjit Katra. I got them all correct tonight as well, which is even better. Without a stumble, which is really good. Manmahan Ranger will take any highway issues. Edward Otang is presenting for us tonight. James Rogers, the Head of Planning Officer's Advice. Anisha Teji is our clerk. And Nicole Cameron is our legal advisor. And I think this is her last meeting before she departs for a period of leave. And we will wish her well. Right. I will, without any further commentary, I will move to item 7, page 21, Midhurst Cottage, High Road, Eastcote. Edward, when you're ready.
Good evening, Chair, members. Thank you very much. I'd like to take you through item 7 to refer you firstly to the slides. Just a brief description on that item. It's a single-storey rear extension with 2 roof lanterns. The extension is 6 metres in depth, no wider than the existing dwelling house, and 3 metres high with a flat roof. The proposal is set in on both side boundaries by 1.9 metres. Okay. Sorry, Chair, shall I hold on?
Yeah, no, carry on. No.
Okay. Members of the Chair, if I could draw your attention to the location plan. Sorry, my apologies. We should have taken this out of the... Okay. We have the location plan for Midhurst Cottage. You've got the constraints plan. Another location plan. These are, I do apologise for the faintness of the drawings. These are showing the existing dwelling house in relation to adjacent properties. And these are the existing plans. You now have the proposed plans and the proposed elevations. An aerial view of the application site and some photos showing the subject property. Chair, if I can draw your attention to just the key issues for consideration for members, is that does the proposal result in adverse impact to the residential amenity of adjacent neighbours? And the officer's view is that it doesn't. And does the scheme respect the character of the local area? The officer's view is that it does respect the character of the local area. Thank you, Chair.
We have a petition on this one. Professor Roberta Ward, if you take a seat at the table there, and if you press the button on the middle of that microphone, it will light up red, and that tells us it's live. Petitioners has also circulated, which I've handed to members, a couple of sheets.
That's correct. Thank you
have
very
been
much.
passed around.
Okay.
When you're ready.
The houses which are built in Uxbridge Rise Eastcote and Eastcote High Road are now approximately 60 years old and represent detached houses, most of which are 3 to 4 bedroom houses within a verdant environment. This is a highly sought after area, the garden being mainly laid to lawn both front and back within a very rural area adjacent to Pin Meadow. The present planning application, which is picture A, for a 6-metre depth extension at the rear of the property is excessive, the extension being larger than the existing footprint of the living area of Midhurst Cottage. Policy Statement HDAS, Residual Extension Paragraph 3.4, states that an extension to a detached house of up to 4 metres depth and height of 3 metres is acceptable. We are therefore flabbergasted that the duty officer states that this planning application is acceptable. Under general permitted development group rules, large rear extensions may be acceptable, but only if this does not generate objections from neighbours and only if the said extension is not contrary to policy. On both of these counts, objections from the immediate neighbours and other residents in Uxbridge Rise, as well as the bills being contrary to policy, the present planning application is flawed. The height of the extension does not meet planning policy at 3.2 metres, as the extension is full width. All other existing rear extensions adjacent to Midhouse Cottage are part width and respect the right to lights of neighbouring properties. In addition, it will have a detrimental effect on the adjacent property Long Meadow, although the planning officer again states that the proposed extension will not be over-dominant or entail loss of light to Long Meadow. As you can see from picture B, the extension will overshadow the entire outside seating area patio at Long Meadow. The walls of the proposed extension will now be over 3.2 metres tall, since the house at Long Meadow is already 59 centimetres lower than the garden at Midhurst Cottage. We understand that 2 families will occupy this property. We are therefore concerned that there may be further planning applications to extend this property. In Uxbridge Rise, we have experienced mission creep on 2 properties already. In particular, 3 separate planning applications were applied for and approved for changes to the first floor, garage front and extensions into the loft at Langside Uxbridge Rise, although the planning committee concluded in the council meeting of 15th of September 2015 that if one planning application had been made to cover the complete build, this would have been refused. A petition signed by 25 residents of Uxbridge Rise and High Road Eastcote has been submitted objecting to the proposed extension, while the owners of the adjacent properties have written individually to object to such an excessive extension to Midhouse Cottage. We sincerely hope the people from Uxbridge Rise who are available have come with me tonight to hope that the planning committee will take note of these documents when considering this application and will refuse this planning application. Thank you.
Just stay for 2 seconds. Do members have any questions? No? Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jones. For the petition, yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned 2 families living in the house.
Yes.
2 related families or 2?
Yes, 2 brothers.
Thank you. Do members have any other? No? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Is there anyone here on behalf of the agent or the applicant? No one's raising their hand, so we'll stop with that. The only thing I would, with respect to petitioners, remind members, of course, is we need to consider the application that is before us. Any future or subsequent applications on this site will have to be considered on their merits. And again, the number of people who intend to occupy the property is not a material consideration for us, I'm afraid. Okay, with those comments made, can I open it up? Councillor Higgins, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question for officers, please. Can you tell me, this extension, what percentage of the garden it's actually grabbing? Is it over, basically, the question's very easier for you, is it over 50%?
No, it isn't. Can we have the mic on so we get it? Sorry, Chair, it isn't over 50%.
Okay, so our hands are slightly tied even more there. The other thing is that obviously if it was to become a HMO, then that's a different situation for us to go into. I do sympathise with residents, but our hands are very tied on this one, and I clutching at straws to get the 50% rule would have been thing. So on that, I'm afraid, really heavy heart that I would have to go with officer's recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Flynn's raised an issue, so we'll just see what comes out there before I move it.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask officers two things. One, we've heard from the petitioner that the footprint of this extension is larger than the actual footprint of the existing property. Could officers confirm, is that correct? And the second point is actually just a sort of procedural thing, actually. I've just noticed in paragraph 3, it refers to, the top paragraph there says, for neighbouring properties, Northwood Residents Association. Now, this property is not actually that near to Northwood, it's actually in Northwood Hills Ward, which I represent, obviously. So, I just wanted to check, is that a mistake, or were Northwood Hills Residents Association not consulted?
Can we take the footprint one first? I think that's more material to consideration.
The footprint of the proposed extension isn't larger than the dwelling house, because if you note, the dwelling house has extended elements to its front elevation, which would count as part of the footprint of the original dwelling house. And this is substantially smaller if you take in, if you like, the overall composition of the dwelling house and its arrangements.
Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Another question for the officers. It's mentioned on page 22 of the report that there's some overshadowing, and I just want to hear the officers' views about any overshadowing that may occur. Overshadowing over on Longmeadow. Yeah, it's a case of, it had been mentioned both by the petitioner and in the report, but I can't see any comments from the officers.
So you've got an overshadowing concern on a single story, yes?
The petitioner brought it up.
No, I'm just checking the concern.
It's also mentioned on page 22 of the report, but I can't see any officers' comments.
That is part of the public consultation, isn't it? It's not an officer. Overshadowing, yeah. Please.
Chair, I think on 22, what you have is a summary of the objectors' comments. Mm-hmm. With regards to overshadowing at Long Meadows building line is actually 1.5 metres, if you like, slightly beyond the original dwelling house of the subject property. So, and there are distances between the two boundaries, the side boundaries, 1.9 metres either side of the side boundaries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the overshadowing wouldn't arise in this case because of those setbacks, if you like, or set in on either side of the boundary.
Okay.
Okay, I sense we're done. I'm not getting anything coming back. I'm going to, in view of the question that was raised by Councillor Flynn about consultations, I'm going to ask for a minor amendment to the recommendation. Because if Northwood Hills Residents Association weren't consulted, that is an omission and needs to be corrected. And obviously, should that give rise to any new issues, then it would need to come back before us. If it only raises what we've already know, of course, then it doesn't affect us. So what I'm going to ask is that if members, as I sense they are in a moment, are going to take this forward with the officer recommendation, that we tweak that by giving the head of planning authority to check the file to ensure Northwood Hills residents were consulted, and if they were, there are no issues. It's just the report has been marginally, the word hills has been missed out. If they haven't been consulted, then they do need to be consulted before the decision notice is issued. And if that consultation raises new issues that we haven't already considered tonight, then it would need to come back before us. Does that make sense? Yeah. If it only raises stuff we've already looked at, there's nothing new, there's nothing's going to change. Does that make sense? Yeah. Can I have someone to take me forward?
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. I'll move the officer's recommendations.
As I've just, in the amendment I've outlined. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Higgins. All those in favour, please show. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6. Do I have against or abstentions? Abstentions. Right. So 6, 4, 2 abstaining. That is approved, subject to the additional delegation that I asked for. Can I please take item 8, 21 Eastcote Road, Ruislip, page 31, non-petition.
Chair, thank you. Item 8, Chair, is effectively a part 2-storey, part single-storey rear extension with the creation of a basement level and a change of use of the first floor from use class C3 to use class D1 for use as a surgery, alterations to elevations and to the parking arrangements. If I could take members through to the slide presentation. Here we have the location plan, the constraints plan again, the existing plans, and the proposed elevations. An aerial view of the subject site, and some photos showing the subject property. Chair, the key issues here for members' consideration is the loss of the residential accommodation, the disproportionate double story with a deep rear extension, and the fact that the proposal is not in keeping with the character of the local area. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we have 7 refusal reasons and a pretty clear officer report. Is anybody going to go in any other direction? Councillor Higgins.
No, I'm not. I'm going to go with officer's recommendation.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Oh, well, I was going to say Councillor also had a hand up. In that case, all those in favour of refusal, please clearly show. That one's refused. Thank you. I move to item 9, land at the rear of 2 Old Hatch Manor, Ruislip, on page 51.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if I could take you firstly through the presentation for item 9. We've got the location plan, the constraints plan, another location plan, and we've got a site plan and the proposed site plan. This is the ground floor proposed, first floor, and the proposed floor plan, roof plan, sorry. Proposed elevations, aerial view, and some pictorial indicators of the subject property. Chair, members, effectively, what we have here is a proposal that is, in effect, a backland garden development, which is not in keeping with the character of the local area. The interface distance between the application site and adjacent property is questionable. It doesn't meet the policy standards set out in the local plan. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I'll go Councillor Higgins and then Councillor Dillon.
I would go with officer's recommendation on this.
Councillor Dillon.
I wish to second that.
Does anybody else wish to ask any other questions in regard to this one? Oh, okay. The officer's recommendation is for refusal. There are 6 reasons given. All those in favour of refusal, please clearly show. No one's refused. I'm going to move to the last public item of the night, item 10, 514-514A Victoria Road, which is some small changes to a scheme we have already agreed. So perhaps you'll just take us through the changes I suspect will do us for this one.
Thank you, Chair. So if I can just take you through to the elevation or details of what's been proposed. It's to the bottom here. So not the indication at the top, but at the bottom of your screen. And effectively what it is an alteration in design and layout. The alteration is minor. Internal layout of the nursery, an amendment to the rear elevation where a window and a door will be replaced with a roller shutter. Sorry.
Roller shutter goes and we get a window and a door.
Forgive me. Roller shutters replaced with windows and doors, which is far better. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's probably enough on that. Oh, go on, I'll go Councillor Flynn first because I got stupid.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you've seen on previous applications, I think we've gone over this one before and see absolutely no issue with this whatsoever. So happy to go with officer's recommendations.
I can gladly second that.
Does anybody have any other issues to raise this application? No. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. That one is approved.